Hello, friends. So, as promised, this is like part two that I recorded on Thursday. So, do you know what? I don't know what I'm gonna call this video, but I want to acknowledge. That's what I want to do. I want to acknowledge the HR and diversity and inclusion specialists who are working within companies today. A particular type of HR and diversity and inclusion like specialist. So I had a wonderful and actually quite emotional conversation with a fantastic lady. She knows who she is, all the way in the States. So I'm just going to say, hey, she knows who she is. And potentially I'm going to come, well, not literally, 'cause obviously I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to wave my Shereen magic for their business over in the States, and they're in Asia and the UK and some stuff. So that was all fine. But I recognise how difficult it is. And this is kind of what I was reflecting on, right? How difficult it is when you're a HR person or a D&I person. So I'm going to call you just progressive people who've been trying to push for change, right? Who all of this stuff that's come up around Black Lives Matter and racial inequalities and racial injustice, you got the memo years ago, and you've been trying and trying and trying and trying a little bit more to push for progressive change. And and pushing for progressive change could be in the simple things like turning to a senior leader or a senior director and saying, see how you want to ignore this racist, discriminatory, or prejudiced behaviour over here. I don't think that's the right thing to do. Or we need budget, we need resource to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Or we've got this individual over here who's decided to pay no attention to the processes that we put in place, not because we were bored and came up with a process, but because we need these things to make a fundamental difference to how underrepresented groups join our business but are treated when they're here within our business. And they've got ignored. Because there are quite a few of you, because I'm imagining myself talking to you, right? That's what I'm going to do. Let's imagine I'm talking to you, like forget everybody else. And I completely recognize that you're now in this moment of, on one hand, there's part of you probably thinking, do you know what? I've been done telling this business from morning that they need to fix up in this area. I've been telling them. I've been trying to push for stuff. I've put proposals, I've done PowerPoint presentations, I've updated business cases. They've told me to go and get the numbers. I went to go and get the numbers. I put the numbers back in, I presented to them, and they still went, nah. And now that you're in a position where you're not only hearing all the stories and the experiences from the outside world, right, but you're also hearing the stories and experiences from the people that work within your business. And I know many of you, your hearts are probably breaking because you're thinking to yourself that I failed them. You know, I didn't push hard enough. I didn't call out that one more time. I accepted it when my email was ignored. I accepted it when, I was shut down in an exec meeting and I didn't go again because I just thought, why is it worth it? And you're feeling like you failed your Black employees. And you're also feeling like if you had pushed that one more time, right, for that one initiative that you tried to get over the line like 4, 5, 6 months ago, that maybe life would have been easier and better for your Black colleagues. And I don't want to start bawling like a baby because that's just really shit. But, there's so many things in this whole experience that I've been on, right? This whole roller coaster that I've been on for the last few weeks. And I've thought back to the situations where I've not fought for myself, the situations where I've accepted treatment of somebody in my team, which I knew full well. was because of the colour of their skin. I knew it. And I put my comfort, meaning I didn't want to rock the boat, ahead of really pushing the envelope and not accepting it. I remember like situations where I've just cried, actually. Only maybe like one or two people have seen me cry because I just thought I just can't, like I can't see a way forward with the barriers that have been put in front of me to try and push for the change that I know is going to make a difference, to try and push for the change that I know is the right thing to do. So like I get it, you know? And what I said to this lady that I was talking to, who is an amazing, amazing woman, is I'm a firm believer sometimes that everything has to happen in the way it has to happen and it has to play out in the way it has to play out. And the reality is, there are some things that I could have done a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 months ago. And there's some things that you could have done a year ago, a couple of weeks ago, whenever. But whatever you put in place then probably wouldn't have solved the problem because let's be honest, you've got a business and a board of directors, and even some of us, right, who didn't understand the depths of the problem. So it potentially could have been a wasted effort if we put it in then. So here we are now, and I talk about like a collective awakening almost. Like we've got a moment, even though some people are desperately trying to bury their heads in the sand. Jesus. I do feel like we've got a moment. And the reason why I feel like we've got a moment is, by definition, in my mind, of the fact that I'm talking to people who are literally in all four corners of the world. And it's literally like I'm going to get all woo-woo on you in a minute. But I do believe that if you are operating on a certain vibrational frequency, which means there's a certain energy that you operate on, it just goes past like postcode and country. And you do end up like-minded people are attracted to your profile, or they're attracted to my YouTube video, or they come and find me on Instagram, or I find them and I discover somebody by accident, but it's not really by accident. So I do think we're here for a reason and we've got a moment. And I guess I want to say that, I know how difficult it is trying to get anything through, right? Jesus, I mean, never mind anything to do with diversity and inclusion. And do you know what? The battle, because let's be honest, if you were trying to push for something purely for Black people, to be honest, like it's hard now, but rewind 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever, nobody would have been interested. I don't care what anybody said. Very, very few companies would have been interested above and beyond just creating an a black employee forum or network or whatever, and just shoving it over there and making the poor D&I person, you look after that, or the HR person, you go and look after that. And the other thing is, there are a lot of HR people who have this as their area of responsibility, or D&I people who also don't report into the board. I'll deal with that on another video, because don't even get me started on that one. So they're made to go through all of these hoops. And every time, the thing is with this, right, if, and I always say this, is that if inclusion, no matter which strands you're looking at, is that important to you as a business, then there's only one person that should be all over this like a hot rash, and that's the CEO. And if they do not have the time to give it the time and energy that it needs to be, so, because that's the argument, isn't it? Oh, I've given it to the IT director, I've given it to, the chief people officer because, they have more time. Well, do you know what? You make the time. It's your culture. You make the time. I'm splitting now, so that's like, I'm going for the CEOs. You make the time. So this is the thing around, there are lots of people who are in positions where they want to try and influence change, but they don't have the power. I go back to, it's about this thing about power and influence. So what I want to say, going back to you fabulous people who have been trying to make change, irrespective of whether you knew the full depth of the problem or not. It's not about that, but you genuinely wanted to make a difference, and you genuinely wanted to make the lives easier for lots of underrepresented groups in your business or minorities, and have found yourself constantly hitting a brick wall, you know. And there's a lot of people who don't understand that because they think it's really easy. They're a bit like, because they're like looking like, why didn't they? Why didn't they? And some people, yes, there are some people who just have the title, and they're just happy with the title and that's about it. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that, literally have questioned their reason for being, because thinking, I've got to try one more way. I've got to try one different way. There's something I'm not doing. There's something I'm not doing. So I'm not good enough. I need to try and find a different way in because the exec are not listening to me. I can't get time with the CEO. I'm waved away. My emails are getting ignored. And like now, you're sitting here thinking that you've just let down all your black employees and your black colleagues. And I'm basically here to say to you that isn't the case. I'm here to say to you that, like, I've been there. There's lots of people who have been there. But you know what? Now, if you're fortunate enough to be in a company who have got the memo, is an opportunity for you to keep on pushing. Keep on pushing, because it's going to take a lot of us to do very, very different things to make the change and make the influence that needs to be made. Like, I wish it would just, people listening to me and my voice every day. That's enough. But you know what? My voice helps a lot of people internally because it just keeps sending people links to my videos. Listen to her. Well, listen to what she says. So there's something that I can do, and there's something that you can do, and there'll be other people in your network who can help you. There'll be other employees who can help you, irrespective of their, the color of their skin. And I think there's more and more of us all over the shop who are saying enough is enough, who want to hold business to account, who want to hold companies to account, who want to hold CEOs to account, and the board of directors to account, and the shareholders, and the stakeholders, and. You know, we've got a moment now. Carry on pushing. Go back and have a look at all the things that your business said no to. Don't just like resubmit it, but have a look now with this new layer of awareness that you have, and then think about, okay, so will that work now to fix or to go some way of affecting change for black people? Or is it still really generic, so it might only like tweak around the edges? Because this is the time when we can't be tweaking around the edges with shit. We just need to just throw it away. But just take a deep breath and go again. Take a deep breath and go again. You know. So, if you're still in the business now, despite all of the knockbacks that you've had, then there's a reason. It might not be a perfect reason, because no job is ever perfect, no business is ever perfect, no culture is ever perfect. But, if your CEO consistently wants to remain blind, then at least you can make an informed decision from there. But, just keep pushing where you can, not to the detriment of your health, not to the detriment of your sanity, but because you feel like you want to give it one last go. So I know that's a bit of a, I don't even know what to call that video really, but it was like sitting on my spirit. And this conversation that I had with this lovely lady in the States is not the first time I've had this conversation. And it has been like playing around in my mind, probably not helped by the news of a particular brand that has a HR director who felt it was okay to say any discussions about racism is just noise. But listen, we can talk about that in another video. But that also, I was always in this place of feeling like, there's a lot of HR people who have not got the memo, who don't get it. But equally, there's a lot who do. They might not understand the full challenge or the context of what we've got to deal with, but heart has always been in the right place, still trying to push, still take those knockbacks. Probably the most resilient people in the world, to be honest. probably resilient than me, because listen, I wouldn't even do the job because I knew I couldn't even last 5 minutes. Keep telling me no like 3 times, I'm not later. So thank you for listening, and I will see you tomorrow.